Final score in Paisley, Celtic 3, St Mirren 0. Celtic had the challenge of winning 4 games out of 4 before going into the winter break, and they've done exactly that, scoring 10 goals, conceding just 1. This is Tino with the Final Whistle Show, joined here by James and Brido. Brido, come to you first. Your thoughts on tonight in Paisley?
Great performance, good way to kind of finish off a difficult period. You know, we had some tough games in there, and both individually with players and then collectively as a team, I think we're starting to build something that looks pretty decent. And if the additions come in January, then hopefully that'll lead us to the last 2 trophies that we can win.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Brady, you're sounding a wee bit hoarse. Did you ever cook the goose during the holidays?
Some may say.
Not for you to say. James, your own thoughts, obviously, really important to follow up Saturday's win with all 3 points tonight. Celtic have done that without a spare.
Yeah, that, and also just the pressure was really on them the last 4 games before the break here. And I meant to mention after the Rangers game, I think the way the players have responded has been really, really impressive. And they're a team that collectively, for a number of years now, have turned up when they've been needed. And it was just so important, these 4 games. I suppose what we're looking at as fans is splitting the problem in 2. First problem was to win your next 4 games and finish strong, finish in a comfy position in the league. And then to turn to the board and say, right, we've done our bit, the players and the manager. It's time for the board to do their bit. So they've got the space now, so they better get their fingers out and deliver.
They do have. So it's now just about 3 weeks before the next game. We play Buckie Thistle in the Scottish Cup on the 21st of January. So what about now, the 2nd? So more or less 3 weeks for the board, the recruitment team, everyone behind the scenes to now support Brendan Rodgers. You know what he can do when he's got a full, strong quality side at his disposal. He's had some bumps in the road. He's not without fault in his first 6 months or so in the job, but he's managed to see off the big challenges, no less than Saturday there as well, James. But we'll focus on this for now. We'll catch some different shows between now and the Buckie Thistle one where we'll certainly cover the transfer market and everything going on there. But in terms of the lineup then, we were looking for consistency. And apart from that one change at centre-half, we've got that. So Navrocki stepped in for Stephen Welsh. Were you happy enough, James, when you seen the lineup?
Yeah, no real surprises. You know, we knew, unfortunately, Welsh had taken that knock. Thanks to Arthur Johnson. So just hope to get some decent news that he'll be back kind of at the start of the resumption of the season. Nothing else really standing out. It was a team we expected, and you know they showed exactly why they were picked with the start we got off to. So yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, Brady, yourself happy enough with the team?
Yeah, because we've been crying out for consistency. So you know, some changes, like you said, there were through necessity. That's fine. That happens in football. They've all done okay. We could talk about it maybe specifically later on, but yeah, I thought they looked like a team that was starting to just Bernardo and O'Reilly in particular, building those partnerships that we've spoken about for the last couple of years. You know, they do take time. Maybe as fans were too pushy for it, but it certainly seemed like it started to click, which was great.
Yeah, right. Obviously, a lot of energy goes into a result like Saturday's. All the tension before such a game, maybe the release of tension after the game, all that kind of stuff. And Celtic got a big job to do against Rangers at the weekend, and they managed to do so. How do you go from that as a player, you know, the build up and everything around it, to then go to Paisley, to far less glamorous surroundings, smaller crowd, cold time of year, all that kind of a stuff, head maybe halfway off on holiday. I'm sure some of the players going for a break. How do you go from the high of Saturday to the business that you need to take care of tonight?
With the reality of knowing that that's what it takes to play for Celtic, I think players that have done it and been there, and your Callum McGregor's, experience of Joe Hart, Greg Taylor even as well, they've been there a long time. Through those players making sure that the new ones aren't, Bernardo had a great game. He could have been in a high after Saturday. He's a young player, young guy. Perhaps he could have, let it slip and let it, not perform well. It's those other players around him that keep them honest. And the manager, obviously. The manager's leading that group of players. And it's up to him and the experienced players to guide the young ones through what I think a lot of us thought could have been a tricky game tonight. St Mirren are a decent side, and they've proven that this season. And yeah, so to come through that the way we did. You know, I don't think we could ask for much more, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, really good performance all round. And before we continue with the match detail and the reaction, just a big thank you, of course, to everyone who's joining us on YouTube Live. Always great to see so many folks join the shows here. And as always, we encourage your questions, comments, feedback, all that kind of stuff as we continue to chat through the game. There is one comment, James, that's come in. Class performance, Taylor, excellent, backs up everything that Bride was saying. Something else as well, which I think is relevant, from Geronimo here, who says something, I think he means something has clicked big time. Is that how you feel, James? Obviously, momentum's important. We've spoken about this inconsistency we've had in terms of lineups. We've now more or less named the same team for 4 in a row. Do you think, albeit we're getting into a break, but do you think something has clicked for Brendan Rodgers players?
I thought the exact same thing during the game. I really did think that, the players were playing Rodgers' style. And there was I think we were 3 up at this point, and it was slow, patient build-up. And again, it's kind of hard to watch. But within that slow, patient build-up and second phase, third phase, we had 2 or 3 excellent chances that only the goalie stopped from becoming 4, 5, 6-0. So maybe there's a wee bit of education for me as a fan and for other fans that, it's not kind of just like charge at the goal. It's patient, it's possession, focused. But what you're doing is waiting until that clear-cut chance comes. And when it does, they're then instructed and trained to just take it. And they took their chances for the first 3 goals. They were unlucky not to add to them. So I totally agree. I think something really clicked tonight, and maybe even clicked over the last, 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Brido, it's hard, isn't it, when you go from 2 years of Ange ball and everything that brings. It's exciting football. It's high tempo. It's high scoring. It's swashbuckling, to use a term that James uses a lot. And any manager, Brendan Rodgers or otherwise, is going to bring in his own new style. That's just the way things go. Different managers, different approaches. And I think there's maybe a lesson for us as fans, or I'll certainly say for myself as a fan, that you just need to be patient and accept that a new style is going to take some time to bed in. Add into the mix, you're losing key players, potentially your best players, guys like Hatate, Abada, Carter Vickers at times. It wasn't going to click on day one. Brendan Rodgers came in the summer there. It wasn't going to be free-flowing stuff on match day 1, 2 and 3. It was going to take a bit of time, but the signs are there over the last 2-3 games especially that we're starting to get there, and that should only improve getting into the end of January.
Absolutely. I think that's why there's a feel-good factor after Saturday's win, and then obviously after tonight. We maintain a gap at the top. Okay, it's not been great in the last few games before that. But we've maybe got, at that stage, there was more questions than answers, and perhaps after the last 2 or 3 games, 4 games maybe, we've actually been able to find more answers than questions. So with the likes of Bernardo and O'Reilly's partnership in there, that gives us confidence that if Hatate's not available, it's also freed up McGregor to do Callum McGregor type stuff. He's not perhaps getting shifted around to do 2 jobs or 1.5 jobs in a game. So I think it's, when we say clicking into place, I think it's just those people are in the right role, doing the right job, and that then allows other people to grow as well. It takes the pressure off players like Yang, who come on as a sub and actually look pretty decent, because we're not actually saying to him, you need to go win us the game. He's coming on at a period of the game where he can actually just find his feet a wee bit. And listen, we've seen some shockers from him, but we've also seen glimpses of pretty decent football, pretty decent wing play. So as fans, yeah, we can be a bit knee-jerk, but we're allowed to be. That's we're allowed to celebrate the way we celebrate, but we're also allowed to be, a bit angry or disappointed when that comes across in the same measure. So I trust the manager. I trust the manager a lot, and I trust that he'll get it right. And he's openly said that he needs more quality. So it's over to him and the board, like he said, and the recruitment team to go and find that quality. And then he doesn't have any excuses if it doesn't work. But I'm quite confident that he gets them in and does exactly what we all think he can do.
Yeah, and let's see who we can bring in over the next few weeks. James, we've talked about things starting to click. Let's go back to tonight specifically. It's taken about 54 seconds for things to click. What a way to start.
I barely sat down. I was just getting ready for the game, and before you know it, we're one up. It's just, that was the first of many moves like that tonight. Just really slick passing. I think we caught St Mirren cold a wee bit. They maybe weren't expecting something quite so pacey. It's falling to dies in, and you're kind of going, he's not my usual one-on-one guy, and the kind of age-old saying in football is you can't pass or strike the ball through players, but he did. He kind of struck it through the goalie. It was kind of semi at him, kind of between his body and his arm. So it wasn't, world-class finishing, but goals are goals, and he got himself into position. So we're off to a flyer.
Yeah, as long as it finds the back of the net, James, that's all that matters. Bridle, the main man in the goal out with Maeda, of course, was Matt O'Reilly, as always. What was the stat that he's now had something like 19 goal involvements for Celtic this season, maybe 17? Plenty anyway, is the answer. That's his 100th game for Celtic. And I think it was Chris Sutton that made the comment. The guy must have eyes in the back of his head, because he takes the ball with his back to play in terms of where Maeda was. And out of nowhere, he just plucks out this pass, and it's 1-0 Celtic. It's classy stuff from O'Reilly.
I mean, he's done it since he's come in, really. He kind of hit the ground running. We could all see that he had quality. He was still young. He was finding his feet in Glasgow. But he's the one player that makes those passes, and they're the ones we need when teams are sitting in, with their banks of their defence. That's the type of thing we need. And that's the quality. We all say everyone can pass the ball, everyone can, take their time and pass the ball, but he does it with 1 touch, 2 touches. That's the difference between his level and, say, I'm not going to say Bernardo, because he looks like he could climb and reach that too, but perhaps other players that we've seen in the country, not just our team, they can't do that, and the team struggles. But he's just on the half turn. It's not just making the pass, it's a beautiful weighted pass, and it makes it easy for Maeda to nearly miss it, but it goes in, it goes in. That's what counts. So, and his numbers are pretty impressive. I believe that he's the highest goal involvement in the league. He's ranked first for that. And for a central midfielder who's not, necessarily banging in loads of goals, it's great for us to have that weapon. And and obviously we'll go to his goal after, but the fact that Bernardo and him were both in 5 yards of each other in the penalty box, we've not had that throughout the season. So the goals will keep coming, I think. Performances that will keep coming as long as those two, and Hatate obviously gets involved. As long as they start and keep making those runs into the box and finding those passes, I don't think we've anything to worry about, because nobody can compete with that.
Yeah, Bernardo and O'Reilly, Bridle, they seem to have paired up very well over the last few games. And again, like a lot of things, that's only going to get better. You've then got Rio Hatate coming back into the mix, and that's going to put real pressure, but it should improve everybody across the board. You'll have heard the stat, 100 games for Matt O'Reilly, James. Interviewed after a game, smart lad, doesn't get drawn into too much, but hits out with the quote that you only get one life and you've got to make the most of it. Do you agree?
Definitely agree with that. I mean, we're talking about, the afterlife and stuff. We talk about football and Matt O'Reilly.
I remember we had a chat about Jota last year at some point and said that post-football career, he's going to be some sort of philosopher, because he's that deep a thinker, and he kind of goes into some heavy detail on stuff away from the game. O'Reilly's the same, but the big plus, kidding aside, is that he's a guy who just continually wants to improve himself. He'll move on from Celtic at some point. He wasn't getting drawn on the question tonight. I don't think it'll be January. It may well be summer, and if it is, it's 2.5 years at Celtic, and a brilliant 2.5 years it would be.
Yeah, I mean, we've been blessed with him. And, when we talk about development players, O'Reilly arrived as a development player, but a much further down the line development player than some of the ones we've signed in the summer there. Even Bernardo, I would say to that. I think we've probably got about 5-6 months tops left of him, and he'll make his move in the summer. I don't think he'll go in January. I think we'll come under pressure in January, but I think he knows that he's in a good place just now, and there's definitely a connection for him at Celtic, and he'll want to finish on a high, and he'll want to finish, with another league title in his pocket. So I'm not too worried about January, but you never know with the board. So, but great for him, and great to see how he's developing. I mean, I think when you look at him and the likes of McGregor speaking, you're looking at future managers for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. So he's got his assist for the first goal, 54 seconds in, as I say. He's then got his own goal around about 6 minutes. It's brilliant from Bernardo. The guy's clearly grown in confidence. Got his first couple of goals for Celtic over the last couple of games. It's a brilliant turn in the box. Gogic is very close to him, but he knows he can't touch him or it's a penalty, and he rolls it into O'Reilly's path, and the rest is history. Great start to the game all round, and Celtic were absolutely flying at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the football, and I think just what Brad was saying, they're both in the box now, and before we were seeing one in, one out and stuff like that, so they're obviously working on that. but they're both, I would say Bernardo's taken a while to show us it, but he's shown he's an intelligent footballer, or really we already know is. So you get two intelligent guys in the box there, even close together. They know where the other one's going to be, and they know where they need to be for that ball. Sutton made a kind of comment that his first touch wasn't the best, but see the fact he'd let it come across his body, he'd created that space so he could take a just slightly less than perfect touch, and then he was right on top of it, and he's buried it straight between the goalie's legs. And like I say, the goalie had a great game, so to be finishing like that for a goalie who's on form, it was a lovely, lovely goal.
Yeah, at that point, Bridle, it's very enjoyable to watch. Celtic are cutting them open. Marcus Fraser, getting a tough time out in the wings. Lots of stuff going on. And you're actually expecting it maybe to be 3-4 at half time, but generally speaking, just very enjoyable. And I think mostly because we've not seen much of that this season. We've huffed and puffed at times, and games like today, I think we'd have struggled with maybe only 4 weeks ago. There's something definitely happening at Celtic, and it's brilliant to see. What about some of the individuals involved, Bridle? We've touched on Bernardo, O'Reilly. Thought McGregor was very good once again. Navrocki's come in, obviously out the cold on Saturday, come off the bench for Welsh, and he starts tonight. He'll face far tougher tests in terms of his defensive work. But what do you think in general about how he carries himself?
I think he's very, very good with his passes forward. He plays firm early passes forward, which helps us with the build-up. I don't think he's fast, which is going to be a problem for him for Celtic. We like to play a high line. So I don't think it could be a bit harsh that he's only played a bit of football, so he's maybe just not as sharp. There was one that he kind of just kept dropping back off. I don't know why he did that, but his performance on Saturday and his performance tonight, I don't think he can have any complaints about it. He's quite aggressive, which I like, and he's reasonably assured. So yeah, on the ball, because Celtic defenders in most of the games domestically, we will have a lot of the ball, and they need to be brave with that. He played a brilliant pass forward for Kyogo's goal to O'Reilly on Saturday, and he's playing those passes tonight as well. And Scales has been doing that as well. So we've got two, and obviously Carter Vickers, we know what he does. So if we're looking at Nawrocki being part of our squad, if you've got Nawrocki and Welsh, Carter Vickers and Scales, and that's your 4 centre halves, that's not overly bad. It's not overly bad at all, I don't think, based on what we've seen from them all. Some folk might argue that Welsh has had plenty of chances and he's not good enough. But we need to remember, at Celtic, we're not going to be able to go and spend a lot more money on a defender for him to sit on the bench. So, but I think he done well, and I think he deserves to be in the mix if Carter Vickers or Scales aren't available. I think he deserves a chance to compete. And, if he keeps improving, like we've seen, then hopefully he can maybe challenge for a first team place. But I just think, based on what I've seen with the pace, that's a bit of a slight problem for me.
It might be, and we'll keep an eye on it. But James, certainly no worries about Nawrocki on the night. I thought he was pretty good overall. Listen, pretty much everybody to a man were very good tonight. I do think Alistair Johnson's a bit off the boil. I think he could do with the break, and he'll get the break, and let's see how he comes back. Another guy who's causing debate, there's no getting away from it, is Louis Palmer. I'm a huge fan. I think you and I have chatted through on a few shows about that. His numbers are very good so far for the season, and if you just looked at things on paper, you'd be pretty pleased with it. But there's no doubt he's been a wee bit off it in recent games as well. And he does have the ability, he's got the ability to score brilliant goals and make brilliant assists. He's also got the ability to really frustrate with some of his set pieces, booming corners out the park and free kicks as well. Where are you at on him? Is he just young, inconsistent winger? Is that all it is?
Yes, it's a funny one, I'm a great defender of Abada's when he comes under a bit of flack, because his numbers just don't lie. His numbers are ridiculous. I think Abada's reading of the game is excellent. He knows where he should be, and he knows where he can sniff out opportunities that others can't. I don't see Palmer's been quite as clinical as that. And some of the stuff he's playing is just, I don't know, like he lacks a bit of concentration sometimes. And I mean concentration when he's on the ball, going for a goal, not concentration when he's off the ball. So, yeah, young guy, development. He's got a long way to go, is all I'd say. But numbers from guys like that are going to win you leagues at the end of the day. I can sit and say I'm frustrated by him, and that was garbage and this, that, and the next thing. But if he's putting in the numbers that are clocking up week by week, those are the ones that will put you top of the league and I'll have you there at the end of the season. So we have to persevere and see how he can develop. If he can develop into more of an all-round winger, or if we start to employ him a wee bit in a 10, then I think we'll maybe see the best of him. But in the meantime, he's clocking up the numbers, like I say.
Yeah, he is. I think he's quite been the same since he got the braces off. When he came at first, he had the teeth on a bit away, but teeth are looking great, but the form's kind of dipped at the same time. But I think he's a talented boy. And he's had that bedding in period as well. He was signed towards the end of the window. He'll now be getting used to Glasgow life. He's his first Christmas here. He's won for the Instagram and all that stuff. But he'll be settling in. He'll enjoy the break as well. Whether a guy like that goes home or not, I don't know. But he should, like a few of the guys we've mentioned there, we should start to see the best of him towards the second half of the season. So I've got no big worries about Palma in general. I think he's a very talented guy, but more consistency is required. And I think that Brendan Rodgers is the kind of coach that will start to get more from him and various others. The other big talking point, lads, about the first half was obviously the sending off. It's happened just before the break. I don't know, in real time, I thought it was a wee bit heavy. I wasn't sure if it was going to be called up. It turns out they have gone to VAR, and I don't want to see a guy sent off for something like that. I don't think there's any malice, but I think if we're going to be going to the rule book, which we have to do, Bridle, it's endangering an opponent. It's taking a big risk, putting your foot as high as that, and I don't know if the refs get any choice but to do what he did and send them off.
Yeah, because as soon as the referee goes over, the first thing they show is the still of the boot, straight-legged. And I think that's, for me, it's being the straight leg with the studs up. And then he's out of control. He's not got control of what he's doing. And he knows where the goalie is. So there's a part of me that then says, yeah, it's a red card. But then for those that played football years ago, you're not expected. You're told to be brave. You're told to challenge the goalkeeper. You're told to put your boot in. It's difficult for me to then say that it's a red based on what I want football to be, but unfortunately, football's not like that anymore. And maybe some people will say for the better. I'm kind of with you on it. It's like, yeah, it probably is a red, but do I want it to be a red? Well, yeah, to help us win the game. But as a football person, yeah, aye. I don't even know, really. That's genuinely honest. I don't. You look at it, straight leg, kicks his face, nearly took his head off. It's a red card, actually. So there we go.
Yeah, I think so. James, any complaints about the red?
Absolutely not. I mean, I said at the time, there's zero intent from the boy, but intent isn't part of the rule book. There was no malice. He wasn't looking to injure Joe Hart. He was just putting himself in for the goal. But the reason that's a red card is we need to have those kind of tackles removed from the game because it puts people into serious danger. If it was an inch to the left, you're looking at Hart's eyes and stuff like that, so it could be really dangerous for a player. So my only kind of regret on it was it would diminish the contest, I thought, because I thought even at 2-0, St Mirren were working really hard. I saw, who was the ex-Celtic boy that was captain tonight?
Marcus Fraser.
Fraser, right. After about 20 minutes, he was roasting his players, and I think he got a reaction out of them. So, they were finishing a wee bit stronger, and I thought, make a good contest the second half, and the red card certainly diminished that. So, but there's absolutely no question it's a red card. I know Sutton was defending it, but that's a bit of strikers' union there.
I think it is. Out with Sutton, I've yet to see anybody say it's not a red. And even you can call it a harsh red, you can call it a whatever red you want. It's a red, and that's the bottom line. And you're right about Hart. You've got to protect the players at the end of the day. And you'll have seen him come off. He's got a couple of stud marks just on his cheekbone, and a couple of inches further up than he could have been in real bother. And I think you've just got to accept that challenges like that are no longer part of the game. Maybe you get away with them, Bridle, back in the day, but you don't get away with them now. And I think it was the right call. James, to your point, it does change the contest in terms of, did they just come out and just sit with, a 5 and a 4 in front of the ball with their goalie behind that? But actually, at the turn of the break, St Mirren had a go at it, and they were probably most dangerous early in the second half.
Yeah, Stephen Robinson's a good manager, and they had to be because they knew they would flag. They would have done their tank by 60, 65 minutes with all the extra running they would be doing against a passing team. So it was no surprise to see them come out of the traps, fast and strong. But it was the tiredness that got them in the end. They just didn't have much left to give. So it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Brido, your man Yang, you mentioned him. He comes on fairly early in the half, 55 minutes. He came on for Palma. Not Palma's day. We've covered him in a bit of detail. He'll continue to get better, and we'll see how that goes. But Yang comes in, and you're absolutely right. Whether it's been Yang or Mikey Johnson or James Forrest or any of these guys recently, they've been coming on at nothing each, or even at 1-0 down or 2-0 down against Hearts, and told, go and win us a game, go and get us back in the game. And that's huge pressure for a winger. And listen, I know that's why you're there. That's your job at Celtic. But if you're bringing in a development player, which I think Yang very much is, it's far better to be bringing him in 2-0 up in the 55th minute of a game like this and letting him go and relax and do his thing. And he'd one or two mistakes. He ran the ball out the park once or twice. But actually, generally speaking, he was driving the team forward. He was very keen to get to the byline, and he looked far more confident, and he actually looked like he enjoyed his game.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming on with less pressure, obviously, and that then hopefully means that he can enjoy himself and be a bit more expressive and not have to be scared of getting the ball because he was scared of making a mistake, rather than being confident and courageous and actually impacting the game positively. So, yeah, if Celtic fans, if we're sitting there and Yang is our first choice winger to start games, I think we're in a bit of a situation then. And, we shouldn't be in that position. We shouldn't have been in that position before. We know we get injuries and things like that, but, for me, Mikey Johnson shouldn't be in the equation at all. I know he scored 2 goals last week, but I'd put one of them down as an OG for the goal. It was that bad. I don't want to stick it to your man here, Tino, but yeah, he shouldn't be playing for us ever again. But Forrest, again, folk will argue shouldn't be there either. He's done his time, he's done his bit. And the squad players should be these players that are getting the game time to come and improve and get better. Jota had in his first season, didn't play every week. He had time off the park where he could come on and influence the game and grow confidence and understand what it's like to be a player in that position for a club like Celtic. So that's where a lot of fans that I speak to anyway, their annoyance is that we put ourselves in that position by not having guaranteed quality. Now, Palmer's maybe just a bit further ahead in his journey, whether people like him or don't like him. His numbers are pretty decent, but when he's bad, he's really bad. His delivery is terrible. But when Yang comes on, he takes it and he is direct, and he does make the defender take 2-3 yards towards his own goal. He does get to the byline and he does try to put the ball across the goal, and that should benefit the likes of Kyogo, Maida if he's up there, even Abada who's on the other wing, to come into the back post, as well as Bernardo, O'Reilly and Hatate, because they're getting in the box as well. So the more we get the balls in early and have runners into the box, then the more goals we'll see. But we just weren't doing that for a part of the season because players like Yang just don't have that confidence yet to go and impact the game from the start. People say Mikey Johnson is a good sub. There's a reason for that, because he tend to come on when we're winning. So yeah, I think it's okay having guys like that in the squad, and if we keep seeing improvement, then by all means, then he could come in next season and we could all be saying, what's another wonder signing we've plucked from the middle of nowhere. And then again, alternatively, it could be mince more than he's great, and then we all say, he shouldn't be here, put him out on loan and we never see him again. So it's up to him to do what he done today. I thought he was quite positive today, and I thought he impacted the game as best he could. So yeah, I think he's okay for that type of role for the club at the minute.
Yeah, Brido, that's quite enough Mikey Johnson negativity from you. We'll move on to James very quickly. James, you've obviously got a situation even just a few weeks ago, though, where Maeda and Abada weren't available. Those two guys come back. We know what they can do. They've proven it over the last couple of seasons. So it's quite natural that Mikey Johnson and James Forrest find themselves back down the queue, and you bring in Maeda and you bring in Abada, because these are guys that, not so much Brendan Rodgers' time so far, but certainly under Ange, they can be trusted to do a job and return you those numbers. And it's just the pecking order. It's just the way of things now. And Yang obviously finds himself somewhere in between. And I thought he played well, a decent bit of confidence tonight. And again, he'll benefit from half an hour here, 40 minutes there, starting the odd game, but not every week. And I think that's the way to deal with these players. How do you think he done in general tonight?
I think like most, He's just very positive. He wants to go at the defender. That's his move. He's not looking to step inside like Palma is and get the right foot on it. He's looking to go at guys, hit the byline, get his cross in from there. He's probably fairly two-footed for me. I thought he was some really, really decent play down that wing. But then he had his, like you say, ran the ball to the park. One or two of his crosses were a bit high, wide, and handsome. So you're going to get what you get, a development player. But I think, to your point earlier on, we're now getting to an almost perfect situation where you can have. I think if we were 2 weeks down the line playing a game, you're probably looking at Maeda and Abada starting, and Palmer maybe coming on, and Yang coming on. Then you're looking at you've shifted that barrier up. The quality line has just gone up there. And when you add Europe into the mix and these guys having to play against European teams and getting their confidence dented, that's why you can't sign development players to play in the Champions League, because the quality you're up against is just too high. And it impacts on the players' ability to develop, because they think, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for not even just Champions League level, but SPFL level. And that impacts on league form and everything else. So a shambles from the recruitment team in that regard. But hopefully lessons learned if we ever do. But we're now in a great position to start developing guys in league games where you've maybe got a couple of goals on the board. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy how it's going.
Yeah, I think so. And then, when you look across the board at the summer recruits, we'll take Nat Phillips out the equation, right? I think he's away back already to Liverpool. There's 8 guys, which includes Paulo Bernardo's loan deal, that have come into Celtic. And I don't think everyone was saying Yang doesn't have ability or Nawrocki doesn't have ability. But we understood that these guys, weren't ready to turn up in Matchday 1 Champions League. And that's just where Celtic have found themselves due to, I think it is poor recruitment. We've all agreed that project signings are fine if you're peppering them with 2 or 3 ready-made signings and 2 or 3 experienced guys. That allows you to bring Yang in and out. It allows you to bring Bernardo in and out, Thiago home, guys that we know can play a bit, but shouldn't have been thrown into the lion's den the way they have been so far this season. So, again, I think if Brendan Rodgers manages to avoid more injury troubles in the second half of the season, it'll just allow him to play these guys in bits and bobs and drop them in when required. And I think that'll get the best out of them. And maybe we'll see the best of them in season 2 or further down the line, and we'll see who we can get in terms of experience stuff across the door in January. But promising signs from several guys, and Bernardo's one of them. James mentioned that he's obviously just in on loan just now. Lots of chat whether you'd keep him or not. That can go to the back burner for a few months. We can revisit that towards the end of the season. But for the here and now, the guy's really turned it on the last few games, and his assist for Greg Taylor's goal is sheer class.
It really is. I mean, he's turned it on quite late. He's only really turned on. We saw flashes of it in Europe, but then maybe it was a fitness thing. I mean, it certainly feels like it was more of a fitness thing where he was getting European game time, but then getting straight out of the squad for the next league game. So they were just maybe managing his fitness levels and getting him up to speed for, our game is a fast game in Scotland, so just getting him right for that. But even before he put that ball in for Greg Taylor, he was so unlucky himself, working it through in the box and then being on the end of it. And it's a great save for the goalie, just to the goalie's high to his right. But then the ball in for Taylor, and to have to say, Taylor did a great game. Funny what a January transfer window can do for your motivation levels. So, because everyone's talking his left back, and he's like, better get my thumb out here. So he's had a great game on the back of a great game on Saturday. He's making all the moves. He's, I think, started the move. Bernardo's got the ball, just not perfect for him. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got to let the ball come across his body. That's a lot of technique there. So he was showing his midfield skill set that he had as he was a younger boy. But it's an absolute peach of a goal. You'll not see too many of them this season, but I was delighted to see that one.
That was a brilliant finish, and he was getting a bit of grief in the lead up to it. Quick question, James: would you pay $6 million for Bernardo? Is it too early to say?
6? I mean, it's maybe just too early to say. I'm kind of going, show me 2 or 3 more games like the last 2 or 3, and I'd probably be there. I mean, I think I wrote him off 3 weeks ago, so shows you what I know. But 6, I mean, we can't be looking for Celtic to sign £6 million players, and then a player turns up like he has, and he's now starting to show his skill set, and then scoff at the price, because the money's sitting there in the bank. So as long as the wages are right, there'll be a heavy sell-on, with being a Benfica youth, but that's all part of it. We're hearing anything between 2 and 6, and I think if it's anywhere in that range, probably looking to sign him at the end of the season now.
Yeah. Brady, you'll see the question on your screen. So it's Jim Bob that's put it to us, thinking Bernardo would be worth every penny if it is 6. What do you think? I seen you shaking your head.
Oh, I'm all over it. All over it.
Really?
I think he's a real player. He's physically he likes getting stuck in. That's one thing. You know, we maybe didn't expect that from that type of player. You know, we didn't know what to expect because he's a young guy. I've not seen that much before he joined. But he gets tore in, which we like. But he's also combined that with ability, you know, and also a desire to get on the ball. He's not scared. He's maybe found his confidence. Maybe that's what we're seeing now. He's found his feet. He's finding himself in positions to score goals. I know he never got any. He didn't get a goal himself tonight, but he's finding himself in the box. It's done on Saturday as well. He could have got a couple of goals on Saturday. O'Reilly was the same. When his first kind of season, he would find himself in positions, he just didn't find the net. Still contributed enough to play. So I would be he's brought a good balance to the team as well. I think when at a point when we were saying we need that third midfield spot sorted because it was really affecting us. He's came in, young player, and he's took it on his shoulders. And I think I've no doubt he's going to get better and better and better. And I think when it gets to the point where it's 6 million, I think we'll all be split that. We'll be off our heads not to sign him for 6 million if that's the deal.
Yeah, I think the signs over the last few weeks are really, really promising. And as I say, if he can hold on to that third spot with Real Hatate breathing down his neck, that would say something, you know, in general. But he's going to get many more opportunities between now and the end of the season to show us everything that he's got. And I think that's pretty exciting. And I mentioned James, he's only young. He's 21. He's 22 this month, January. And I think more and more folk that he picked up man of the match tonight, didn't he? More and more folk are getting on the Bernardo train, and let's see where that takes us. Bridal, we've got to cover Greg Taylor because he's a man who's come in for loads of criticism. We've dug him up at various points in the last few months, but the last 2 games, tonight and Saturday, big, very, very important games for Celtic. He stood up to be counted. Now, James makes the point. There's no secret, I don't think, that Celtic are in the market for a new left back. Players know that. Players know the noise that's going around. And Greg Taylor knows that he has to step up. And what his future at Celtic might be, nobody really knows. But all you can do is take your opportunities when they're there. And his job isn't to score goals, but he's been given a chance to do so tonight, and it's a brilliant finish.
I think Greg Taylor could have scored. Well, he should have taken a chance on Saturday to get himself a first Glasgow Derby goal because he should have swung his right foot and it probably scored. He was like 5 yards for a goal. So he's finding himself in these positions the last few games. The one thing about Greg Taylor nobody can ever argue is that he gives 100% effort. Nobody will ever argue that. Sometimes the quality, when he goes into the middle of the park, he does actually look pretty decent. And he's been doing that a lot more as well the last few games. But tonight, he made it for O'Reilly's goal. It's actually Greg Taylor's run, which takes the defenders away, which creates the space for Bernardo. So he's influencing the game, perhaps not directly, unlike his goal where he completely directly does it on his own. It's a cracking finish. But again, he's making that run. Bernardo, O'Reilly are starting to find these passes that perhaps they weren't doing before. It also helps the team, I think, with Maeda coming in. Now, I know he's not always on Taylor's side because Palmer's tends to be there, but defences, I think, are having to drop 5 or 10 yards because of Maeda's pace, and that's creating a bit more space perhaps for other players. But Greg Taylor, I don't have a single problem with Greg Taylor being in our squad. I don't have a single problem with his attitude, but I have a problem with the fact there's nothing for him to compete against, and there's nobody. And I think we need a different type of left back at different stages of the game, Champions League, or whatever. So there definitely needs to be that. So it's not to be overly harsh on him because a lot of the times we are hard on him, it's not without fact. It's just not been good enough. And his final ball can be better, all that kind of stuff. But the goal he takes, if he could do that more often, we wouldn't be shouting as much for another left back. So fair play to him tonight for his performance. I thought he was excellent, like really, really good. And yeah, he'll probably not want the break, to be fair, because he seems to have come onto a game. So he'll certainly not want the transfer window, like James said, and maybe that's where he got a wee bit extra 10% from. But aye, listen, I'm glad he's there, but at the same time, he needs to be competing against somebody who we think can offer more than he can, and that's where I am with the left back. situation.
And all the noise that we've heard is about Tiago Riggio, the Estoril left back, who is another former Benfica youth player, as was Bernardo and Jota and various others. So we'll see what happens regarding that side of things. Just to address things as well, James, Greg Taylor done the celebration, the fingers in the ears and shutting out the noise type celebration. I think a few guys at the start of this recording were commenting about it, saying they don't quite like that approach. I'm quite sure, my interpretation of that is that was aimed at the St Mirren fans who were just to his left, who gave him all sorts of grief when he get caught. He get caught quite a bad one in the shin, went down injured and got booed for the rest of the game. I'm pretty sure it was directed at them, but what's your own take on that?
100% that. I expected better for St Mirren fans, to be honest with you. That's a really poor read of a game of football. Two guys going at pace. He's coming. All it needs is a wee clip there, and it's in a really slow position. You could see, he's taken that knock and he's needed a bit of time to run it off. He ran it off, so he ran to run it off, and they start giving him a hard time as if he should just like crawl about for the rest of the game. You know, there's only one way to run a knock off is to run, and he's come on running, and they get stuck in there. So it was exactly for them. He could maybe have been standing in a better position to make it completely clear, but it was definitely for the St Mirren fans, not for Celtic fans. If it was for Celtic fans, I'd be the one getting the most.
Yeah, I think so. But no, fair play. Greg Taylor played well tonight. He enjoyed his goal, and rightly so. Brilliant finish. James, a couple of other subs not long after. So Abada comes on for Maeda, 63 minutes. And at the same time, Lagerbielke for Navrocki. Was it a farewell appearance for Lagerbielke?
A short window, kind of game time in the legs. I think part of it is that after the third goal, the contest is over. So Navrocki's still on a path back to fitness. He's playing a wee bit earlier than maybe we'd have wanted him to. So there's no point in burning him on 90 minutes when you've got another guy there that the game's pretty comfy by this stage. So yeah, why not bring Lagerbielke on? So fine there, and he did fine. It nothing too heavy to do. But I think something Brian mentioned earlier on in Navrocki, I think you could see that pace on Lagerbielke definitely isn't there, and I think that's what's going to cost him in the end. He's full of endeavour and application and stuff, and he's a good strong defender, but I think maybe just pace is going to cost him. And then the other one was for Abada for Maeda, was it?
Yeah, Abada comes in for Maeda, same time.
Yeah. So again, more game time. Another guy coming back from the treatment room, and a long time off, and a fan's favourite and all that stuff. So I'm delighted to see him getting more game time. He could have had a goal, maybe even two, and he was unlucky. He did a wee bit of bad stuff where he's not quite executed his cross as well as he should. He's lost the ball a couple of times, and he's fouling the guy getting back. That's always frustrating to see. But I think it's just step by step, and what an asset to have for the second half of the season.
Yeah, definitely. But lots of chances at this time for Celtic. I'll catch their goalie's name in a second, but he said plenty stops. Is it Hemming? Zach Hemming. He's done his job tonight and managed to keep it at 3. And there's nothing to get really frustrated about. Celtic are making loads of chances. They're throwing bodies on the line, and Scales has hit the post with one. James mentioned a chance that Bernardo had that he's made a wonder save at, and all sorts of things, at different times across the 90 minutes. And do you have any great issues or concerns about the finishing, or was it just one of those games in terms of, could have been more, but we'll be happy enough with 3?
I don't think we can begrudge a 3-0 away victory at this stage based on what we've seen so far. I think the performance was really good. 3 goals away from home. Okay, 10 men for 45 minutes. Could we do more? I don't know. You sometimes get that the goalkeeper just makes these saves and has a decent night, which keeps it respectable. So, no, I've no issue with that. If somebody says it's a 3-0 win, away you go, enjoy your break, we'd all have accepted it. So, I don't think we could get too greedy and expect to get, 6 or 7-0 wins at St Mirren, who, again, a good manager. I think they've got a really good manager, and they've got a decent wee team that you kind of like seeing them do well. They're normally quite an honest team. Like I was the same as James. I was disappointed with the fans' reaction with Taylor as well. So, but they're not normally like that, to be fair. So, yeah, they're a good side. So 3-0 away win, we'll take it.
Yeah. Last couple of subs Celtic have made. So it's O and Hatate coming on. 70 odd minutes. O for Kyogo. Hatate for Bernardo. We'll get to Hatate in just a second, Brido, but decent question that came in earlier on. Well worth discussing. Martin McCarthy asking, do you know this guy, first of all, Brido?
That's my younger brother. He doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, by the way.
So Martin asked the question, and it's a good question. What is the future of O? I've heard James talk about it a few times, but Brido, what's your own thoughts on where he's at? He'll obviously go to the Asian Cup now, and good luck to him and the others heading out there. But in terms of his development at Celtic, where's he at right now, and what's the future for O?
I think he's in a similar position as to what Yang should be in the wing position. You know, he shouldn't be charged with starting games and winning as them. I think we need to have at least another striker there to help Kyogo. And I think O should be drip fed into games where there is that less pressure, you know, and until we can see that he's going to produce the goods on a reliably regular level. Attributes wise, he's got something, you know, he's strong, he's got full of endeavour. Sometimes I think he's trying too hard. You know, like you want somebody just to be relaxed, you'd be, you know, ice in your veins in front of goal. He's not got that. He needs to just get a bit more, find more composure in the big moments, and I think he'll score a lot more goals. But I like his attitude towards it all. I like his energy. He throws himself about. He's not scared to get involved, which is different to what we've got. So that's important. We've got that option too. So I think it's important that he's there, but I think he's probably just one player too close to playing at the minute. I think there needs to be another player. Let's say Kyogo's one, somebody who we knows a proven goal scorer with proven quality, and an O should be, I reckon, the kind of third choice striker that's maybe slightly different to the other two. That's where he'll have a place in the squad, you know, and that should then hopefully develop as, you know, as a season or two goes on. We can then see what he's really got in the tank.
Yeah, because I think he does have something to offer, and I think you agree that as well, James. I think you can see certain attributes in him, but it's maybe too early in his development. And like some of the other guys that we've mentioned, we've thrown on at nothing each and 1-0 down and expect him just to turn it on, and it's maybe too much too soon for a young player like that. It's going to be interesting to see how him and the other guys fare in the Asian Cup. That starts in about 10 days' time. So you've got Owen Yang heading out from a South Korea point of view, Maeda and Hatate for Japan, and Marco Tilio, who doesn't play much for us at all, but he's getting the nod for Australia. So it gives us some sort of interest over the kind of middle end of January to keep a wee eye on that. James, big news, obviously, Rio Hatate making his return. That's his first game since that Atletico Madrid game at home. Comes on in 71 minutes, gets 20-25 minutes. Not hugely involved, no massive chances, but you just see a class player in Hatate. I thought some of his 1 and 2 touch stuff was really sharp, and again, it's just a reintroduction game today. He'll go away with Japan and we'll see how that goes, but he's a great player and it's got to be big news for Celtic to get him back.
It's massive, you know, and you wouldn't have minded seeing him maybe for 5-10 minutes if the game was comfier on Saturday there, but you know, once they sneaked one back, you wouldn't really be taking chances for having to get into blood and thunder tackle. So tonight was perfect. You're 3 up, the game's done, get him on for some minutes in the legs. And what it does, it just scribbling down, if you take the kind of development stuff to the side, it makes you've got 5 guys for 3 positions in Hatate, Matt O'Reilly, Bernardo, Callum McGregor and Tomoki. That's a totally different prospect. See if we were going into Champions League with that as your 5 core to pick 3 from and 2 on the bench, I think we're sitting in a different place here. But injuries, poor signings, whatever it may be, or too many development signs as it was, has cost us. So having a fit Rio Hatate, much as I'm saying about Abada, exact same as I'm saying about Abada, that's you now going into the second half of the league, finishing really strong and improving without signing anyone. And I know what the board are thinking, don't need to sign anyone, but you do.
Yeah, you'll have potentially seen the GIF. I think it was E-Tims that put it up during the game, and it was after Celtic went maybe 2 or 3-0 up, and it was them putting the piggy bank back in the safe. And I hope there's nothing of the sorts going on. Brendan Rodgers is playing it down a wee bit just now. You might have heard his comments saying we're looking to get 1 or 2 in the door. Now, I don't know if that's just an expression. 1 or 2 could mean 1 player. It could mean 4 players. So we'll just need to kind of sit tight on that. But James, it would be more than foolish, beyond foolish, if the board thought, do you know what, we're actually doing okay. We've beat Rangers. Let's do nothing. They must 100% back Brendan Rodgers, because if they do, they'll be rewarded. You know, it's you spend the money, you'll get the returns from this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can hold off goalie-wise until the summer. I think we'd be better if we didn't, but I think we can just about get away with that. But Taylor needs that competition because 1st of February comes, no transfer window for a few months, he can just take it easy again. So you need that signing. If that Benfica youth boys, Estero guy signs, then I think that's looks like the kind of level we should be looking at. But striker for me is the big one. We need a really strong striker that's going to just bang in the goals week in, week out, provide competition for Kyogo there, and let O come in, much like the others we've talked about, where they can get their 15, 20 minutes, maybe get a goal when you're 2 goals, 3 goals up when the confidence is high. He was unlucky not to score tonight, the big man, but he just is that development player. So we 100% need to finish the transfer window strong, and it's left back and striker all day for me.
The exact same for me. In that order, James, left back first, striker second, then we can worry about other areas elsewhere. Bridal, but just in terms of the current squad, the guys that are there right now, there's going to be a lot of bodies moved on. I've mentioned Nat Phillips, and guys like Ideguchi will move on, James McCarthy might move on, Kobayashi, maybe even Lagerbielke that we've spoken about. Lots of guys will go into pastures new, and good luck to them. But what about the guys that are going to stay? The guys that Brendan Rodgers has been working with for the first 6 months of his time back here. Where do you think they'll all be with the manager now? It takes time to build trust. It takes time to get used to new systems, style of play. But ultimately, results on the park are what proves what you're all about. And the fact that they've gone and they've had that big win at Ibrox together back in September. They've had the huge win at Parkhead against them on Saturday. They've now gone 4 wins in the bounce for the first time this season. Things are starting to turn. We've mentioned it before. Things are starting to click. Where do you think the relationship between Brendan Rodgers and his players will now be?
I think Brendan Rodgers has always worked better when he has a smaller pool that he trusts week in, week out. And we've seen that with his first stint with us. We've seen it when he was at Liverpool. We've seen it when he was at Leicester. So we've seen it all the way through his career that he doesn't like to utilise a 25-man squad, if you like. He's probably looking more about 18 players or something along the lines, or 18 to 20. Now, for that then means he's been using this time to perhaps whittle down the ones that he would include within that smaller group. Because he has said, it's no secret that we have too many players, both for finances and I imagine training is a nightmare at times for so many people at the training session. So, and there's no point, for me, there's no point in having players like Forrest or Johnson, sorry, Tino, or Bernabe or McCarthy, because they're not, even if they're available, and let's say we have 15 injuries and they're there, they're still not good enough. So therefore, what's the point in them being there? So for me, for the squad to be better and for us to show progress to where we were before, they need to not be there and be replaced with players that can lightly challenge the players in the positions now. So Greg Taylor will be going from our first choice left back to the sub left back. That would be progress because we've found somebody better than what we've got. Maeda and Abada, I don't like the two of them playing the same team together a lot, but for me, if they're our 2 starting wingers, am I happy? I don't think I am. I think I want something better than what they were, because Jota was better than what they were. So right now, I think he's finding it. I think a winger, a striker, and a left back would be the 3 positions for me. But I think what Rodgers has done and has been doing with these inconsistent team selections, he must have had some method in his madness, I'd imagine. Even today, taking Nawrocki off and put Lagerbielke, he's not doing it to see Lagerbielke. He knows he's probably not a fan of his, and he's probably going out the door. So it'll be interesting to see. January's never normally the time to do a clear out. Very seldom see 7, 8, 9 players leaving. So although I do think that's what we need, I think they needs like the proper clear out they did in the summer. So I think he's going to start to whittle it down. And what we've seen tonight with Hatate and Abada coming back, and Yang coming on as a sub and that type of thing, add in the 2 or 3 signings he's talking about with quality, I think we're doing okay. And I think we're okay with the goalkeeper position until the summer. It's quite a kind of bespoke position, isn't it? So I think he knows what he needs, and hopefully he gets the backing to do that.
Yeah, I think, and it can be easier said than done just to move guys on. I think of guys like Kobayashi, he'll be on very decent money at Celtic, having come from Japan. So if he's to go back to Japan, he won't get a deal on the same money if he returns to where he came from. So it might be loan moves for some of these guys as we try and work it out. but there's easily 6, 7, 8, 9 guys you could mention. I'm even forgetting Bernabe, Bridle. I've mentioned various others, Kobayashi, McCarthy, all these kind of guys. There's so many guys that just do not have a future at Celtic. Liam Shaw's still a Celtic player. Guys like that, there's no way back for them. Johnny Kenny, can't see him making it in a Celtic shirt. All these various players, James. But let's take it back to now. We're going to do various shows in the next couple of weeks to fill the gaps, and we'll certainly do a transfer show and a few other things. But for now, James, we find ourselves getting into this break in a pretty decent position. Obviously there's 2 games in hand for Rangers, but Celtic are 8 points clear. Could be reduced to 2, but we're in the driving seat. Our destiny's in our own hands, to use that term. So your overall summary, James, of where we find ourselves, at least on the park, getting into this winter break, and your own final thoughts on tonight's one at St Mirren.
I mean, I'll take the win first of all. I thought it was massive. That could have been a tricky game. I've got a lot of respect for Stephen Robinson as a coach. And I think if it wasn't for the 2 quick goals, it might have been a different game. But it was 2 quick goals, so the game was, they were right behind the 8 ball from the start, and we took that forward to get a big win there. I think if you see where we are now compared to 3 weeks ago when we're all running about with our hair on fire, myself included, and the way the players have responded to that's been amazing. So, like I said earlier, on top of the show, it's now over the recruitment team, and I hope you're all looking forward to the 1st of February Meltdown podcast when we look back at the transfer window.
Yeah, the Meltdown show is on the way. But Bridle, following Saturday's win, as mentioned, it was so important to get the 3 points tonight. That's exactly what we've got. So your final thoughts for this one?
Yeah, I think we've came through a difficult spell, both the things off the park and on the park, the kind of the stuff for the Green Brigade and all that kind of stuff. Things seem to have settled down, I think. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's a bit calmer. It's settled down. There's a bit more logic in all of our thinking, maybe, but not as knee-jerk, hopefully. And I think that will be reflected by the club in the next few weeks. I think the manager's made it very clear. And my sincere hope is that they'll listen to that and they'll act accordingly, and they'll get the players in for the positions that it's not just some of us, it's all of us. Every single person that watches Celtic says left back and a striker, a left back, goalkeeper, a striker. So we all can't be wrong. We've all been watching football for a long time. We've all been watching Celtic for a long time. So hopefully we get those in. And I think then the kind of good feeling, positivity grows arms and legs and it takes us to where we need to be.
Yeah, I hope so. And Bridle, as you said, everyone's saying goalie, left back, striker, and even guys like Michael Nicholson. He's a football fan. He's a Celtic fan. He watches the same games we see, and I think he sees the need for that as well. James isn't hugely confident that Celtic will do the business over the next few weeks, but we can only hope and pray that they manage to do so. Obviously, we'll know now that Celtic are away till the 21st of January. It's the Buckie Thistle game in the Scottish Cup. But what we'll do, we'll have plenty of shows between now and then to fill the gaps. We'll be back on Monday, as always, with the weekly show, and we'll have something between now and then just to keep things ticking over. A big thanks to everyone for joining us in the YouTube live, as always. If you're following on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and give us a wee like there. It makes a big difference. And if you do listen in podcast version, please follow us on Apple or Spotify and leave a review where you can. But in the meantime, my thanks to James and Bridle for joining us here. Our thanks, as always, to yourself, and we'll catch you again very soon.